You're listening to Unlocked, Your Career by Design with Samantha Flores, Fortune 100 executive, billion-dollar business leader, and founder of Powerhouse Code. Here, you'll discover how to build authority, attract opportunities, and lead with authentic presence. If you're ready to claim your spotlight and step into your next level, you're in the right place. Let's unlock your career by design. Let's be honest. No matter how seasoned you are, feedback that stings never feels good. That split second where your stomach drops, your chest tightens, and you start replaying every word they said. If you've ever been in a feedback session where you thought, this is not true, they don't recognize me, they don't see what I'm doing, you know what I'm talking about. And here's the thing. Even high performers struggle with feedback because so many of us tie our identity to our performance. And not only that, you might be tying your worth to your performance, or actually a subjective opinion or perspective of your performance. And I see it time and time and time again in the workplace. So many talented individuals attaching so much meaning and expectations to that performance review. And I've talked about this in previous episodes, right? Because we are operating in an educational system for approximately 18 years. And the school system is set up that the harder you work, the higher your grade, and the higher your grade, the better your possibility to progress to the next level. And so that performance review can ignite so many feelings of worth and identity and not feeling good enough. And I've actually had teammates come into performance review feeling so nervous about what the other person is going to say about them and attaching their words. And I've been there myself. I mean, I've had performance reviews where I actually cried my eyes out for a weekend long because I felt like I was giving so much to my company, to my team, to my department, to my manager, going above and beyond, working nights, working weekends, sacrificing family time, social time, time with friends, and then getting a performance review that, in my opinion, did not reflect my contribution. But here's the thing that I only realize now, or for the last couple of years, that type of feedback, that feedback that stings, the feedback that hurts, that is the best type of feedback. Now, hear me out, because here's where most people are like, okay, what are you talking about? Because I do not want to feel bad for the feedback that I had, because, again, the ladies I work with, the professionals I work with, they give so much to the workplace, to their job, to their teammates. And consciously or not, we all want that feeling of recognition, of feeling like you matter, that you are a teammate that is valued for your contribution, and that you are seen and heard for the value you bring. And so that performance review can lead to so many negative feelings or doubts, lack of confidence when it's not delivered well. Because like I said, the feedback that stings, that makes you doubt yourself, that is the best feedback. And will get into the why in a second, okay? But first I want you to think about feedback as a mirror, not as a measure. Okay, unless you're in sales and you have tangible targets that are numerical, quantifiable, that you can measure, most feedback is subjective or a perception, right? You might think you're strategic. The person that is evaluating you might think that you are not strategic at all. And how can you make that then tangible? And the point is not about making it tangible or who's right or who's wrong. It's more, how can you take that feedback that stings, that negative feedback, the one that makes you question yourself and your words? How can you take that and turn it into the fuel that gets you to the next level? because feedback isn't a verdict of your worth. It is not. It has nothing to do whether you're good enough. It has nothing to do with whether you feel recognized or not. It's data. It's data on how you are perceived and where you need to focus your attention on to get you to the next level. Okay. And the reason that the stinging feedback hits so hard is because it touches a truth we're not ready to own yet. And so many people walk into the performance review and they want to hear how great they're doing, keep up the good work, we value you as a teammate. That's fantastic. That means that you feel good about yourself, that, you feel like you're worthy and you contribute. But what I want for you is to get you to your next level. And that great feedback is likely to keep you exactly where you are. I cannot emphasize enough. Being exceptional at your job does not mean that you're ready for the next level. Now, this might come as a very tough pill to swallow for most people, but it is the truth because there's a difference between being good at the current job and being ready for the next job. Now, I am giving you the insights on what it takes to get you to your next level, and therefore you need to get the feedback that stings. Because if it didn't sting, it wouldn't stretch you. And the strongest feedback often appears as friction. But friction is what polishes us. But the first thought is usually, my manager is not supportive. They, whoever they is, your peers, your managers, your leaders, they don't see all the work that I do. They don't know that this company will not survive without me. Reality check, it will. Everybody's replaceable. And I shared this in this previous episode. I am here to give you the hard truth that you need to hear in order to get you to the next level. So you have a choice when you get the feedback that stings. And this is what I see so many talented individuals that do. When that feedback that stings comes, which it doesn't come that often because people normally don't like confrontation or sharing harsh feedback. But when it comes, first of all, it's a gift because it doesn't come along very often because most people, most managers, most leaders find it hard to give that feedback. So when you do get that feedback that stings, first of all, be grateful. I know this is very counterintuitive because your system might go into the defensive mode, might go into sadness, might go into anger even. How dare they give me this feedback? Don't they see what I'm doing? But when you do that, when you go into a defensive mode or you try to overcorrect and justify, you're not doing the thing that will get you to where you want to go, right? So if you over-explain, justify, ask for give me examples when I did that, you shut down, or you might shut the one that's giving you the feedback down. And once that happens, then you will only get the good feedback, the one that keeps you afloat, that keeps you in your current role, but you really want to be searching for the feedback that stinks. Okay? Because feedback is an invitation to self-awareness, number one. So it could be that the feedback is feedback that's actually what's happening, but you don't see it. So it could be you're gazing a blind spot, or it could be feedback as perception. How are you perceived? Okay. Now here's where it gets very tricky. Because again, what I see most people do, they go into I'm right, they're wrong. And when that happens is you waste so much time, so much energy into is the feedback, is it justified or not? Is it fair or not? I've seen so many people involve HR and employee relations because they did not agree with the feedback. Here's the thing about feedback. You do not need to agree with it. But the sooner that you accept it as data, the quicker you get to your next level. And so you have a choice to make. Are you going to be that teammate who does not want to get the constructive feedback, who is going to make a very big case of it with HR and employee relations? Or are you going to be the teammate who says, you know what? I know what I want. My vision is clear. My North Star is clear. And I am going to use this feedback as data to help me get there without necessarily agreeing if you don't agree with it, without attaching any meaning to it that you're not good enough, that you have to question your self worth, that you have to question or overthink and let your confidence be impacted. It's pure data. And your only job is, as a teammate who gets that feedback that stings, is to listen and then thank the other person for giving that feedback, because it's very hard to give feedback that stings. And then you're going to use it as data, and you're going to do two things. Self-awareness check. Is this something that I've heard before? Can I do a check with other teammates? Some examples, not to justify, but to understand. Is this a self-awareness, a blind spot that I'm missing? Or is this perception that I need to start changing? Because each one requires a different strategy. If it's a blind spot that you have, then it's something you need to work on. If it's a perception issue, then you know what you need to start changing the perception, which is what I talk about with the ladies in Elevate You on authentic branding. And then, so it comes down to reflection and self-awareness. What is true? What is noise? If it's noise, is this showing me how I'm being perceived? Because if that's the case, I can start changing that perception. Okay. And here's the thing that really you need to start understanding. Feedback is a gift. And I know that that is a cliche. But oftentimes, like I say, leaders and managers do not like giving negative or constructive feedback. And what happens then is that I get all the ladies reaching out to me saying, I've gotten the highest performance rating in 3 or 4 years in a row. Why am I still stuck? Why am I not getting promoted? Why do I get passed over for every opportunity? Why do I get invited to the interview and I don't make it to the final rounds? I'm doing everything right. My performance rating has never been this high. Why am I not getting the recognition that I deserve? Because here's the thing. The magic sits in the feedback that stings. The feedback that is exceptional, that you might have been getting for years in a row, is great. It makes you feel fantastic. It's honestly, it's like a report card at school. You got 10 out of 10, you got an A plus, but that A plus in the workplace is not going to get you to your next level. So you really want to be reaching out for the feedback that stings. Okay. And like I said, many people don't like to give the feedback that stings, because all of a sudden it can turn into a crucial conversation or a difficult conversation where the teammate receiving that feedback gets defensive, gets sad, starts crying. I've been there. And as a teammate who received that feedback. And so I always recommend to intentionally ask for the feedback that stings. Because the feedback that is great, it's good for your ego, it's good for your self-worth, but there's other ways to feel good about that, about yourself, about your self-worth. What I want for you is to get to your next level. So you need to be on the lookout for that feedback that stings. And ask for it proactively, intentionally, and saying, hey, I'm looking for the blind spots that I might not be seeing. And you are one person that I trust will give me the honest feedback. Because what you're doing is stepping into a leadership role and making it safe for the other person to give you that feedback that might sting. Now, here's the thing. When you get that person to give you the feedback that stings, you better shut up and listen. You don't want to say, well, I don't agree with that. Give me some examples. That's not what I hear from other people, because that person is doing you a favor of giving you feedback that most people would not give you. Most people will give you the things that work. Most people will give you the positive feedback. Like I said, the magic sits in the feedback that stings. Okay? Because the feedback that triggers you, that makes you question your worth and your contribution to the organization, that's the one that contains the insights that will accelerate your influence, that will accelerate your career, really. So, the whole point of this episode is to give you a different perspective on what to be on the lookout for and when you get that feedback that stinks. And I want you to take this into account that every single person, probably, that you work with, your CEOs, your senior leaders, they have been at a point in their career when they have gotten the feedback that stinks, the feedback that makes you question your words, makes you overthink whether you're good enough, makes you maybe spend a weekend crying because it's so unfair, all the work you do, and you're not getting recognized, and they don't see all the things you do for your organization. But what comes after the breakdown? It's the breakthrough. So you need to be on the lookout and grateful for the feedback that hurts, because that's the type of feedback that is going to catapult you into your next level. Because if you only get positive feedback and continue doing the thing that you're already great at, how are you going to grow? You want to be getting the feedback that hurts, because that's the area you can grow, you can develop, so you're ready for your next opportunity. Okay? And let's get an example. If you're ever been told you seem quiet in meetings, that doesn't mean that you all of a sudden need to be loud and talk more, especially for introverted leaders, introverted talents. It just means, okay, that's the perception of me being quiet in a meeting. How can I start signaling my leadership differently? Because if you're a person that doesn't like to be the center of attention or the loudest or isn't the most opinionated, what are some ways that you can share your opinion, your perspective, your point of view in a way that feels comfortable to you? And this comes back to the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. When you have a fixed mindset, everything, every feedback, every perspective can be considered as an attack on you personally, that you're not good enough, that you're not valued. But once you start seeing that feedback as perception and saying, okay, that's how people think about me, how can I start acting or behaving or showing up in a different way that starts to change that perception? Because you seem quiet in meetings. Yeah, because I'm a good listener. Or you're too nice to be a leader. I'm actually very collaborative and I build consensus because I have such a nice personality. So it's about how do you take that feedback and turn it into a positive and start changing a perception. Now, warning, that doesn't mean that the feedback you should only focus on, oh, it's subjective, it's perception, so let me change it. No, the feedback can actually be an actual feedback and something you need to work on, right? And that comes with cultivating self-awareness as well. So those are the things that I want you to start thinking about, that feedback doesn't define your limits. It really reveals the potential that you have. And so once you start inviting the feedback that stings and start seeing it that it's not meant to hurt you, it's not meant to for you to start questioning yourself, it's meant to wake you up. And if you start thinking about that feedback that stings as a gift, that people care about you for giving that feedback, because again, it's hard to give constructive feedback, then you can really start making a change. And so I'm going to leave you with a few closing reflection questions, because I like for you to see how you can implement this in your career at the moment. What's the one piece of feedback that you have resisted that might actually hold your next level of growth? And how can you respond to the feedback this week as the leader that you're becoming, not the employee that you are or have been? And that's the thing. The feedback that stings is for your next level. The feedback that makes you feel good is for your current level. Now, when you're listening to the podcast, you probably want to be moving to your next level. So, who is one person that you trust will give you that honest feedback, the harsh truths that might sting or might hurt you, but it's the truth you need to hear to start moving you in the right direction, getting you closer to your goal. So you shift from, why am I still here if all I get is positive performance reviews? That's not the right question. Listen to my previous episode. We want to be asking the questions that get you the closer. What feedback am I not getting, but I need to be getting in order to move me to my next opportunity? From why to what? If you haven't listened to the last episode, episode number 6, now would be a good time to do so. I'm going to leave you with one last thought. Growth usually does not feel good in the moment. Usually it hurts. Usually it comes with very uncomfortable feelings. And that's an indication that it's working. Because when you're outside of your comfort zone, when you're feeling like this is not feeling right, I feel a bit anxious or I'm questioning myself, feeling sadness, that's a moment of growth. But oftentimes you only see it after. So if you're currently going through a rough time and your last performance review stung like a wasp, then it's a gift and it is a catalyst for your growth. If anything resonated of this episode, share it with somebody that needs the help. And of course, leave a review. I will be forever grateful. I'll see you in the next episode. You have been listening to Unlocked, Your Career by Design with Samantha Flores. If today's episode sparked something, here's your next step. Follow the show and leave a 5-star review. That's how we reach more ambitious women ready to break barriers. And if you know a colleague or friend who needs this, share it with them because lifting one woman lifts us all. Until next week, keep owning your spotlights.